I will nominate Mike Russell for chair.
I will second that.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? I would entertain a motion to close out nominations and cast a unanimous ballot.
I will make that motion to close nominations and cast unanimous ballot for Mr. Russell as chair of the personnel committee.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I'll entertain, motion for vice chair.
I'll nominate Tom Kudo.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Close nominations. Entertain unanimous, is that how it's goes?
Entertain a motion to
Entertain a motion for unanimous.
close nominations.
To close nominations.
Cast a unanimous ballot.
Yes, unanimous ballot.
Need a motion on that.
Need a motion.
Close nominations.
I'll make the motion to close nomination and cast unanimous ballot for Mr. Kudo as vice chair.
Also.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't want people.
Motion to approve the minutes from October 10th and October 17th.
October 10th and October 17th.
Second.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's not a process.
Okay. Public comment, limit of 3 minutes per person with a maximum public comment of 30 minutes on agenda items only. Is there any public comment?
I have one. Anybody wanna go before me or time straight? Good afternoon.
Hello?
Thank you. I'm Debbie Flater. Today is a pretty sad day. As I look over the agenda, it is apparent nobody is going to be a winner today. The damage has been done, morale has hit rock bottom. The employees that you will be voting on to reinstate have had a month of their life sucked right out of them, and including their families, when they were not at fault. When, in fact, 3 members of the Personnel Committee, 2 of which are present today, made this decision. And the county is a loser as to their credibility with the employees and the taxpayers. When you vote to reinstate these employees, the real work will begin creating and updating the personnel handbook so employees won't be treated unfairly again. And I would hope you would come up with a plan through attrition to reduce staffing when necessary. And now, on the agenda, I see you want to talk about employee satisfaction. Right now, I feel the work environment is toxic, very harmful and unpleasant. You folks should be the example and start valuing and respecting the employees. Show a little integrity. If you remember from just a couple of days ago, my favorite statement is about integrity. No matter how educated, talented, rich, or cool you believe you are, how you treat people ultimately tells all. Because integrity is everything. I also want to include that how you treat people, what I observed from the county board meeting and I don't know who is who, I know these girls are Ashley, but we have a human resource director, we have an administrative coordinator and a finance director that were at this meeting. I haven't heard too many positive remarks about these women, which isn't fair to them. I believe you need to look out after them, and they shouldn't be your scapegoats and have to always do all the hard work. I appreciate, I've never worked with you or for you, but I appreciate what you do, and the task is not easy. But they need to create a positive working relation with the employees and the other county personnel. I did work with Jamie in the past, so I've known Jamie. I believe strong employee relations can improve morale, reduce turnover, and enhance the overall quality of the work environment. So please, vote yes to reinstate these employees and then get to work on improving morale. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
I don't know, I just got a question, could we move up there? I could hear Debbie, but I couldn't hear two out of the people we're talking up there.
Can you move where?
Huh?
Can you move where?
Up along the outside here.
I don't know why not.
Okay.
You don't have a knife, do you?
I have a key.
I'm not sitting near her.
And I'm gonna sit next to her and I'll use it if I need to.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll improve the sound system in here someday.
We just gotta talk about it.
Are you okay?
No, I'll take after you. I'll sit here.
I'll let everybody get situated.
Okay, I just wanna remind everybody, you have 3 minutes.
Yes.
Tonight.
I was only 2.5, wasn't I?
We're a little bit over time.
I was over 3?
I'll let you go.
I was at 2:11 earlier. I read slower.
Hi, my name is Tammy Inman Stoker. I'm your new County Veteran Service Officer. All of you except Mr. Jacobson, who's new, voted unanimously to appoint me in my position. I know my position is not one of the ones that is at risk, but I can tell you, I've worked with these two ladies, and I'll have a positive note for you. I enjoy working with them. They help me immensely when I've needed it and when I have questions. I just wanna tell you that, I'm new, so I don't know everybody, but in the time that I've been here, 3 months now, I've gotten to know, some of these people that are in this building. I don't know the people that don't work in this building, but I can speak on behalf of 2 of the employees that you guys are working with, that they're great and they're amazing. I would be lost without Rhonda Gulich. She is our person in HHS. She does so much for me. I am a lone office. I'm the only one in my office, and I rely on Rhonda a lot. And I'm aware that there isn't any performance feedbacks that are given to anybody. So how is it that the employees can say, or how people can say without having write-ups in their records, how they're doing well or how they're doing poor? I would just like to say, please reinstate these employees and let's find something else that will work, because this county needs them all. And if there's another way that they need to be dismissed because of things that they haven't done or things that they've done wrong, then let's dismiss them on that, not on our budget, not on that we don't have the money, because these are wonderful people that I've worked with so far, and I think they're great, and I just wanted to let you know, I think that this is very important to everyone, so thank you.
Any other public comment?
My name is Rosemary Schmidt. Sorry. Would you apologize? I apologize if I don't stand up, but I just had
right.
major surgery. You're Mr. Russell?
Mike.
Mike Russell. I'm the one who left the message on your answering machine, which called this board corrupt, because I've not been happy with what this board has been doing. And you chose not to contact me back, but I did say if you would like to discuss this further, you can call me. And I just only assume that you chose not to call me back and ask. Now, can I ask some questions here? No? I just can only comment. Okay. Well, I wanted to know what criteria that you used for these staff reductions, eliminations, because to me, you guys had to know this budget problem was coming. I was a finance director for many years, And I knew when problems were coming, and I addressed it with my finance committee at that time, and I don't understand why these reductions were done at the 11th hour like they have been. I just cannot see any rhyme and reason why you did these reductions, and I'm asking you to reinstate these positions. And I am asking that you read my email that I sent the entire board. I sent it twice, but you didn't get it the first time because I sent it on CenturyLink. And look through attrition, and looking through other efficiencies like combining services, combining departments, like can the clerk staff do some of the forestry clerical work? And reduce there if the person there would be leaving, or if somebody is leaving their position. And then the other comment that I have is not related to these positions, but I watched that meeting the other day, and again, I apologize. I was the person that when Jeff Later was speaking, I had just woken up because I'm recovering from surgery. I had just woken up and I said, "That's Deb," and then I go, "Oh, somebody's talking." It's like, I apologize for that. But the one thing that I noticed in the meeting, and I have never been to a meeting since I retired because I decided I was gonna let it go, and I let the people who took over from me do their job the way they're supposed to. And I guess I wanted to ask you why you were having the corp counsel run the meeting instead of the administrative coordinator, who is supposed to be the person running the meeting. And who was running the meeting? The administrative coordinator was the person who was running the meeting all the years that I worked for the county, and I guess maybe something has changed since then. But more importantly, I hope that you reinstate these positions. I think the IT department is very important. I know it was important when we worked here, and probably over my 3 minutes.
You got a little bit.
And that would be the last department that I would cut. Ann Damer in the sheriff's department, when we had audits, the external auditors had nothing but wonderful things to say about her and her work and her records. And the other people, I don't really know the three of them, but I know the Scott Brinker. I've heard really good things about him, and that he really knows his stuff. And why you would choose to treat long-term dedicated employees that way. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Anybody else?
Save the best for last.
No, Tom's too. I'm here basically for the same reason, why these 6 people are being treated the way they have been treated, when they have done nothing wrong, never been brought up. I know Ashton very well because he is my grandson, and he, in fact, for 2 weeks, he was the only one left in his department because everybody either was fired or quit. He started here 4 years ago, and yeah, everybody's gone. And in his department, so it's all new people. He's the only one that has experience and has been here as long, the longest. So why they chose to get rid of him when he knows a little bit about everything, I have no idea. But he looks so forward to work. He loves his job. He loves coming to work. He loves working hard. He's young and strong and a hard worker. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He just looks forward to his job. And I just can't believe this is happening. My daughter is a Marine, Ashton's mother. She called me and said, "Mom, I taught my child that if you work hard and keep your nose clean and do the right thing, you will have a good life." She says, what can I explain to him now after people do this to him? How can I explain to him this messed up world and what he is going through? He has never been wrote up, never done anything wrong, never been late. He comes 15 minutes early every day to his job, works weekends, and it's just, when he was called up to HR, he thought he was going there to get a promotion because he started out as a maintenance technician. And then when Gary Schultz was hired, he did not like Tom Thorson and talked Tom into retiring after 38 years. And the day after Tom retired, he cut Ashton down to a janitor and demoted him. So Ashton has reapplied, trying to get back to where he started out as a maintenance technician and work side by side with Tom, who has been here was here 38 years. And here he's told your last day is December 31st. I mean, he was in shock. It's just, this isn't the way the world is supposed to work, especially for our young people who have the whole rest of their life in front of them, and then to be just kicked in the balls like you people did to them. And I hope the rest of the people stay on too. Like I said, I know Ashton the best, but I heard the rest are hard workers also. Thank you for listening. I get too emotional. Go ahead, hon.
Any more public comment?
Yes. My name is Tom Thorson. I worked for the county for 38 years, and I'm basically the one who hired Ashton. I had Ashton for 2 years for summer help, and he did really, really wonderful, and he wanted to make a career out of being here. And I retired 2 years ago coming January, but the entire time that I had Ashton here, he was a great worker, honest, dedicated, and would do the work of others without getting recognition for it. And I just hope that everybody can, he wants to make a career out of it. And hopefully he would have 38, 40 years in here before he retired. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Yes.
My name's Sue Voss. Hi.
Hi. You look familiar.
Yeah. Most of my concerns have already been addressed, and I think you guys kind of probably know the way I feel about it. But I had to come to tell you this again. Some of you have been in business and are in business, and you know how this goes. And it's a hard job to cut, but when you think about it, employees have worked year after year after year to make their goal to move up, and they're proud of it. And why you cut those positions, I don't know. But, and I'm sure a lot of you business people realize that your employees are you. Your employees that work for Rusk County are considered, what they say is Rusk County, the same with Christie Mountain. Our employees are Christie Mountain, and if they don't respect us, or if they have a problem and you don't answer it, you've lost them, and you've probably lost the respect of others. So please, just reconsider what you've got. Think out of the box. I know we've gotta cut the budget, but let's think out of the box, and please go to the board a little bit more, because a lot of us didn't know that until the Friday before the meeting. So, thank you for listening.
Any more public comment? Any more public comment? Any more public comment? Close public comment. Human Resources report.
Okay, so October terms, so as a reminder, these are the people that left us in the month of October. We had 6 total for October. The first one was court security officer. We had 1 jailer dispatcher, 2 economic support specialists, a comprehensive community services facilitator, and then a forestry technician. So those are the 6 total that left us in October. People that started with us in the month of October, so not necessarily hired them, but had a start date in October, there were 7 total. We had 2 on-call first responders or EMTs, a deputy in the county clerk's office, a deputy 1 in the circuit court office, a facilities manager, and then 2 jailer dispatchers started in the month of October. Currently, we have 10 positions that are not yet filled, and those 10 positions are a courtroom security officer. We are 3 short for jailer dispatchers, so we need 3 jailer dispatchers. We need 1 social worker or a social services case manager, an operations manager at highway, a highway commissioner, a CCS services facilitator, and then 2 economic support specialists.
Questions, anybody? So,
Most of the 6 that were left, was that included in the 10? The 6 you said that had questions?
Yes.
That's
Yep.
included in the 10?
Yep. Correct. The forestry tech wasn't included because we've already filled that. The person hasn't started yet, so that's why it hasn't been reported as a hire, but that position has been filled. It's just the start date is, I think December for that one, about that person starting.
Alright, but then I would have to ask then, you're familiar with all of the people that were released and laid off?
Yes.
So in your opinion, do you feel that any of them would be able to fulfill some of these positions?
It would depend on all their qualifications and what positions they wanted, that they were
Excuse me,
interested
Chair,
in.
we can't hear your conversation, we can't hear your discussions. If you could speak up a little bit more.
Okay, I simply asked if of the 10 positions that were open and the 6 people that are being considered for termination, would any of those 6 people be able to fall into one of those 10 open positions that we have?
And I just said it would depend on, their qualifications, what qualifications those 6 people all had, and then if they would be interested. Most of these qualifications, or a number of these positions, 2, 3, 6 of them only require a high school diploma. But again, a lot of them are in the same line of work, I would say.
Are these positions currently posted? I asked if they're posted.
Yes, yes. Operations manager and highway commissioner are not currently posted at this time, all other positions are.
So there's 8
Posted
positions that we have currently that are vacant that need to be filled. And
seems that way.
those 8 you feel, if they had a high school diploma, that they could apply for any one of those 8 positions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Would you say that it is ordinary or common practice when businesses of any kind or governmental bodies are facing financial issues or difficulties and perhaps considering some form of downsizing, that one of the steps that the governing board might take, or in my judgment should take, is an overall hiring freeze, and then consider on a case-by-case basis whether those who have left, whether their positions should be filled. I understand there are critical positions that obviously we can't do without, and we have to fill them. But it would seem to me that it would be a prudent way to look at reducing the workforce by attrition rather than by layoffs or terminations, and that we could do that by just declaring that we're not going to hire anybody until we have made a case-by-case decision, and that should be a decision perhaps made by the board and not by staff or even committee, and then we can go forward with that, replace the people that are critical or essential, and take a look at not filling some positions that aren't. And that seems to me that standard procedure in the business world.
Yeah, and that was something that was considered, with this as well, was attrition, not filling by attrition. I think that was one of the first things that was discussed. But yeah, you're correct
Is there
that
a reason why we decided not to do that?
I can't speak to what the board decided.
So let me ask you this. Sorry, I'm not.
I feel like I'm on the stand here.
I know, I'm putting you on the hot spot, but, if any of the individuals that are being considered, for the layoff were to apply for one of those positions, would they be given a preference?
It would depend on the number of, so usually what we look at when we have people that apply is we look at the qualifications that they have. I would assume that typically we do look at people when they're in-house and that they're already our employees, that we would look at them for our internal positions. It's a common practice that you would definitely take that into consideration, especially if somebody would be losing their job, that if they have the skills and capabilities to do that job, that yes, we would look at them.
Did you say that any information that was discussed or decisions that were made by the board on Tuesday would indicate that the board wants us to fill these or to deal with these terminated employees by offering them a different job? Is that what the board seemed to be indicating by placing the necessary money into the various budgets that would fund those positions back where they were? Was there any indication that that's not what the board wanted us to do?
Well, it would be my professional opinion that the indication of the board and what was voted on is that you put the funds back in there so we could reverse the decision and put those people back in those positions.
That's my question, thank you.
Would the positions that are open be available to people, like, say, the sheriff's department? Would they be able to use somebody else out of that department to fill that and keep the other position?
Would they be able to use?
So like if Ann stayed where she's at and say Krista or somebody left the sheriff's department to go be a jailer or whatever.
So anybody at any time can apply for any of our positions, so even any of our current employees, any of the public, yeah. We typically post each position for 2 weeks and we almost always, post them externally, meaning we post them on our website, so they're free for anybody. Once in a great while, we do an internal only posting which then that would also qualify too, cause that would be out to just our staff.
Right,
through
that's
emails
why I
or
was wondering if
postings.
they were gonna do a hiring freeze, then if they would still offer the positions to the inside people.
Yep, and they would have a chance regardless to apply for that.
Would you say it's customary policy or procedure in the human resources business to lay off people and expect them to apply for vacancies within the business as opposed to the business actually offering them positions?
Where I worked before and the layoffs that we've done, we have expected those people to apply just because there is different qualifications and abilities and skills to look at, but I'm not saying that that hasn't ever happened where, you know, they can just go into
I know
another
that
position.
historically in the highway department, for sure, that whenever layoffs occurred, which were probably the only department in county government that I can recall where layoffs were routine, in the past, in the spring, people would be laid off because we didn't need them for the road crew as opposed to plowing snow. They were always called back, but that was by union contract, I understand that. But if the department created a foreman position and appointed someone to it, and then later decided they didn't need a foreman, if they were to eliminate that foreman position, which they did, it was over a 30-year precedent that they always took that person back into the working crew. They did not lay them off and then hire other people.
Sure.
My experience with that is it's not always true when we promoted somebody in the operations where I went to, was in charge of, I made it very clear, if we promoted them and they did not make it, we would not make it back.
Well, I'm not sure that.
And also, when we did a layoff or a reduction in force or downsizing, whatever you wanna call it, we did not move people around, we retained the people we needed going forward, and if people didn't have the skill sets, regardless of longevity, they were the ones that were picked.
I'm talking about Rusk County Highway Department and the longstanding.
Well, your other question was previous to that.
Yep, longstanding.
I'm answering your other question.
Oh, okay, I'm one question behind then, or one answer behind. Anyway, the longstanding practice in the highway department is definitely that, and that they might eliminate a foreman position, not because of the performance of the foreman, but because they just didn't believe they needed to have a foreman in that role, and then they would always, and they would take a reduction in, wage, but they usually had been promoted from the position that they were qualified and trained to do, so they could move back down to that position.
Excuse me, I would like to ask the committee then, what their thoughts would be on this. The finance committee basically, made the decision in conjunction with the personnel committee, because we had a big fiscal deficit. So, this is a business.
Yeah, it is.
This is a business. So I would need to ask every one of you, are we being fiscally responsible by moving funds that should be reserved, in my opinion, should stay reserved, in case we do run into some other kind of emergency, to keep these employees here, when we have 10 positions open, 8 of which they could possibly very well slide into? Does that make fiscal sense?
No, that was more of an emotional decision. To move those monies.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
was the money budgeted for these 10 positions?
Yes, because none of them are new positions, so they are in the
So
budget for
this money,
those.
this money would be there if they hired to fill them other positions?
Yes,
Already?
yes, this money is in the budget for next year, as they are
So
current positions.
if they don't fill them positions, where does that money go?
I believe it just is in the line of wages on the budget. Cause you can't transfer money around outside of the wage line either. So it's not like you can go use it for equipment or for other services.
My understanding is it stays there, and at the end of the year, if it's not used, it goes back in the general fund.
Right.
And positions that are set up with a family plan insurance, that's how they budgeted the departments.
Also, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, I just wanna verify, so if any of these 6 employees that possibly being considered to be laid off, if they were to apply, and if they were accepted, they would not lose any seniority or anything, would they? Or?
No,
They would keep everything basically, it would be just basically, they would have different responsibilities and what they.
And they possibly could have a different wage, but that would be up to the ad hoc interviewing committee, which would determine if they could be placed outside of, what step they wanted to place them on the wage scale. The ad hoc interviewing committee could decide that.
Since the money is there for those positions, if, like, say, if it was actually a higher wage than what they would be paid, it's possible that the ad hoc committee decided they could.
Well, if step 1 is higher than they're currently making now, they would for sure go up to that step 1.
Okay.
Let me throw this out, guys, to think about. So, we've got a lot of open positions. How about going forward, as a thought, we look at these open positions, and we go through and maybe make a list somehow, as positions come open, do they need to be fulfilled? That would be a way going forward.
In response to that idea, I did speak with, Jody Bush at the Barron County, courthouse, and, she told me that when they have someone retires, they don't fill it. They do not fill that position.
If they retire.
If they retire, they do not fill that position. They take the responsibilities of whoever it was that was retired and distribute them to the rest of the remaining employees.
So they're doing that for budgetary purposes now going forward?
Yes, they're doing that to maintain, so that they don't run into this kind of budget deficit.
Not a bad idea.
So in regards to what you just said,
That was a hiring freeze, is what they're.
It's a hiring freeze, but I'm trying to not use that term.
Well, but it's a case, and
But
you would
yes.
decide on a case-by-case basis whether you could actually get by without that person's.
So
But now,
the
who's gonna
term
make
that-
that decision, guys?
Well,
So who's gonna
that's
make
down
that
the road, but the term you're looking for, in regards to, job reviews based on any opening, in the big factories, it's called zero-based budgeting. So anytime any changes are made that require any kind of expenditure, it has to be justified. Which is what you're getting at.
Okay.
So if a job comes up, somebody out there has to, take a look at that, is it justified, so you gotta have a financial justification for that job, and it has to be approved by somebody, and then the person requesting that new job needs to figure out how it fits within the budget and where the dollars are coming from, so that there is no expenditure that ever exceeds the budget.
Works really well.
So let me share my answer to your question about what we think about it. All committees of the county board derive their responsibility and authority by having that responsibility and authority delegated to the committee by the board. We do what the board, exercise whatever authority the board gives us. That's how county governance, I believe, is supposed to function. I don't believe that the county board on Tuesday told us that they wanted us to find the solution by attrition or by offering other positions to people that were laid off. They told us they wanted to place money back in the budget in all of the positions that were laid off. And I think by inference, they wanted us to execute their will, to put people back to work in their positions and move forward with some other plans that might come from the finance committee, from staff, from department heads, from all of us working together. But I don't believe they told us to find another solution, and that's why the agenda says reinstatement of positions.
They didn't tell us anything.
Did the county board?
The board did
know
not
that
tell
there's
this committee to
10
do
open
anything.
Positions, when they said that, did they? Cause I didn't.
No.
I didn't know that till just now. So don't come and tell me that the county board should direct what happens here, and we should follow their decision. I don't think anybody on that board, for this matter of fact, I don't think any of them knew that there was 10 open positions.
Well, they
I
did
can ask,
direct
Suzanne,
us
did
to
you know
do-
that?
No, but I didn't know there was a
Phil,
budget
did you know
for
that?
the city.
Did you know
I
we
don't
had
know if
10?
I can talk in this or not.
Well,
They didn't direct us to do anything, and it was made really, really clear by corporate counsel that the only thing we were doing was putting money back. They made no other inference at all.
And I heard Rich say that this goes back to personnel, and if personnel passes it, or can come to the board in a form of resolution. Now, I would agree what their intent was by the vote, but there was no instruction. The money was put back in the budget, yes, I agree with that part.
I don't think anybody left the room without knowing that the board intended for us.
And let's, so you weren't here, let's talk about how we got here, because you seem to be a little bit oblivious to that, and a few other people. So, we got here because the budget process started in, and I'm sorry for getting a little off track here, but a lot of people got a lot of questions.
That's all right.
The budget process started in August. Now, I said some of this Tuesday, but I think there was a few people that weren't listening. And maybe I didn't speak loud enough. So the budget process started in August. Finance committee, that's when the budget started coming to us at the finance. I didn't see anything before that. My understanding was these budgets were supposed to be passed by their committees before they came to us. And like I said Tuesday, the finance committee got a big load of crap dumped on their step because committees didn't wanna deal with this stuff, is the way I look at it. They knew these stuff was coming in over budget, and if they didn't, then I'm sorry. I think some people should be questioning these committees that are running these budgets that are coming in too high. Finance's hands are a little bit tied behind our back. We can ask a lot of questions, but we can't like drop the hammer on somebody for coming in with their budget too high. So it came in, and there was, one department was explained to us why it was so high, okay, made sense. We had some services we had to provide. Found kind of a resolution for that. Then we went through the whole process and we started trimming. Anything we could trim that looked totally nonsense, we trimmed. Sent them back, we're like, okay, we don't wanna just go through people's budgets and just axe them. Let's give them a chance to come back and see what they can do. Now, we knew some of these small departments weren't gonna be able to make much for cuts. These real small 2-people departments, whatever. So then, everybody made an effort, what I thought, some couldn't, which one explained to us was, but then we had one come back that was higher than it was the time before. That was already high when it came in. And nobody wanted to address it. So at finance, we had to address it. So eventually we got to the point where we're like, we're out of ideas. We're down to, it was 1.7 or whatever it was. And then we got that loan through, which came through last minute. Nobody knew anything about that loan. That was news to us, so call us bad, whatever. That was a new thing. Didn't know other counties were doing it. And then we ended up where we voted to go into a joint meeting with personnel because the budget had to get done, is what we were told. Needed to be done, so put on the paper. So we worked on this, I took 4 or 5 days, I think, to come in for finance meetings. So it's not like, I'm sorry folks, we didn't wait till the 11th hour. We just weren't coming up with any ideas. I'm sorry. I mean, and there was 5 of us on that committee. I'm also on finance, so I'll take my share of the blame where it needs to be. So the last resort was to come and have a joint with personnel because we needed to have a further discussion as how we were gonna get this budget within line. And that's why we're here today. There were some positions that were put on the table by department heads.
Right, not by.
That was the information given to us, and there was, and I felt every decision we made, there was a rhyme or reason behind it. It was in closed session, I'm not going into it, and as to why maybe the county could do without this certain position at that time.
Right.
So now we're here today, and I'm getting frustrated with this, because if the board as a whole, I guess guys, I'm just gonna say it, the board as a whole doesn't wanna be fiscally responsible, and we're just gonna keep pulling out of general fund, then my vote is anymore, fine, go with the board. Board made their decision. But this crap was dumped on us as finance and personnel, because I feel other committees didn't do their job. Bottom line. And if you guys wanna hammer on us through emails, go for it. I mean, because we're the ones holding the bag here of dog crap. But that's fine. But now it went to, and Mr. Willingham, you were in on this too. Inciting the public with a bunch of misinformation as far as I'm concerned. You've been on finance, you've been on personnel, and you know it ain't just cut and dried. So.
Do you have specific information that misinformation that I provided anyone?
I don't know what you provided, but you said you answered a lot of emails. So did you correct people when you told them that that positions, when they think that they're 100% grant funded, that if you cut a position, that grant money still doesn't stay in that department?
I didn't tell anybody that.
I'm just asking if you corrected them. Because a lot of folks I'm hearing from, they think that because you cut a position, because 80% of it comes from grant or state money, that department doesn't keep that money yet. It still keeps that money, and you know that. It's just divvied out amongst the other people in that department to do that job. That's the bottom line.
So did you get the same letters that I got? Why didn't you answer them and tell them that?
Because
you don't answer their emails, that's why.
Because what was the point? There was
You
so
don't
much
communicate
misinformation.
with your constituents?
None of them were from my district.
Well, they live in the county, they're citizens.
Right.
They should only.
But why didn't you give them the right information? You seem to have a lot of answers for everything. You've been on the board 40-some years, longer than I have. What do I know?
Why do you know that I don't know what you think?
Well, I think you know a lot more than I do. You've said it before.
And you know that I'm oblivious.
You're oblivious to some things. You like inciting the public is what you like doing.
Thank you very much.
That's what you like to do.
Okay,
No.
let's move on.
My apologies,
That's all
Mr.
right.
Chair.
Are we done now? Your report?
Yes, I'm done with my report.
We're gonna move on to the satisfaction survey.
Okay, yeah, so this is on here because Mr. Willingham had requested it to be on there, so.
Well, I don't know what I'm talking about, so forget it.
Well, it's on there, so I'd like to hear.
Well, if you guys will recall, I think we started this like 3 or 4 meetings ago, probably. We had to push it off because Mr. Willingham had missed a couple ones, but the last meeting that I did have, I was directed to reach out to other counties and talk to them if they do employee satisfaction surveys or not. I did have 23 counties that responded to me. I think that was what you guys were kind of wondering, is how other counties handle this. So 8 counties, out of the 23 that responded, 8 counties have not ever done one. 2 counties said no, they don't do, satisfaction surveys. What they do is they do stay interviews with their employees, so you could argue that maybe they're kind of similar. 6 counties do them annually, and it's a mixture of whether they do these internally or they contract with a third party to, send out these surveys. And then 4 counties do them as needed, so it's not on an annual basis, but just when they feel one is needed. And 3 of the counties were doing one for the first time this year. Between all those counties, it was really split between doing them internally if their HR office handled it, through like an internal, like using SurveyMonkey or using Microsoft Forms, which is completely confidential too. Even like if HR did them, HR wouldn't even see like who was responding to them. So a lot of counties said they did SurveyMonkey or Microsoft Forms if they did them internally. And then many said that they looked at doing contracted and they wanted to do them contracted, but the price was a huge barrier, as those services are pretty expensive to have a company provide that survey for you. A few of the surveys only focused on benefits, and if you guys will recall, we have done a couple. I think actually, if you can chime in, I think you guys did some before I came, that some benefit only focused surveys. So a few counties did that, and then one of the major comments that a lot of people said is your board has to be very committed to make changes, and it has to be the right time. So what they meant by that is making sure that you're doing it, like right now probably wouldn't be the best time to do employee satisfaction survey with the morale in the building. And then when you do these surveys, the board has to be willing to take all these results, and not saying that you're going to do something with every action item that you have, but you have to be able to take these results and be like, this is what we're gonna change, this is what we're gonna work on, and report back to the employees on like, hey, you guys all said you wanted $10 more an hour, we can't do that financially, but we heard you say that communication is poor, here's what we're gonna do to work on this, or whatever that may be. So just really making sure that the full board would be committed to making the changes, whatever that may be, that you hear from the employees.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking. A lot of landmines. Thank you. So I need some guidance here for what's next.
That's the first addendum, yeah.
I would make a motion that we reinstate the position eliminated.
Second. Any discussion?
Been talking about it for half an hour, nobody's got nothing to say now.
I would reiterate what I've stated. I don't think we're being fiscally responsible by doing this. And especially given the light that we just learned that there are 10 positions open in this county here for people to take advantage of without having to move funds from our general funds to cover their existing positions. I would assume also that, you know, if they were able to fall into a position and like say, for example, a position became open that they had been in, they would probably be able to apply for that and go back into what they had previously been doing, correct?
Correct, that would be, you know, the ad hoc interview committee would have to decide if we wanted to go through the whole interview process or not, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know, I can't go along with.
That didn't seem to be the practice though, John. A person was terminated at the highway shop, and there was an open position that they were interviewing for within a couple of days, and they hired somebody that they could have offered that position to.
Mr. Willingham, that is false, so,
That's misinformation.
if you go look online to the ad hoc interviewing committee, the ad hoc interviewing committee made the motion to hire that person on October 7th, which was before any of the layoffs happened.
Also, it's my understanding that there were 2 of the 6 that were offered other positions and they declined.
Were those offers in written form?
I was not there.
They got a letter.
I wasn't
Were they
there.
told in the letter that they could
I
move to a
was-
different position?
I'll say it one more time, I wasn't there.
Well, I'm not asking you, I'm asking the person that wrote the letter.
All of our employees are always welcome to fill out any application for any position at any
No,
time.
you said that they were offered, 6 people were offered positions.
2 of the 6.
2 of the 6, okay, 2 of the 6.
I didn't offer
were offered
anybody positions in the letter.
Okay, so the fact that they may or may not have been offered a position is strictly a verbal at this point.
Correct, I didn't do that.
We don't have a written record to say that they were or were not.
Correct.
Well, my issue is, I'm doing something that's already been done and well thought through is, we'll be doing this till my hair grows back then. Every decision will be challenged by the loudest person in the room.
I'll talk a little quieter.
That would be great.
So my question on this is, since I'm new to this, are we able to do a hiring freeze, or is that a different?
That's a full
committee?
board.
It'd be a recommendation to the board, just like the termination should have been a recommendation to the board.
Anybody else?
Why would determination be a recommendation to the board? When you did furloughs a few years ago, I don't recall that coming to the board.
I believe that the furloughs were part of the plan that was.
But they didn't come to the board.
And explained to the board in the budget process?
No? They just put in there. I heard about it through employees.
Okay.
Before.
So if we didn't do it right.
I wasn't on
last
finance,
time,
I'm just saying. Don't be quick to criticize.
why are you so touchy about issues and
Because you.
policies being criticized and accusing people of stirring up the public by answering
Because you're
emails?
not telling them the truth. And you're allowing it to continue.
Show me a lie that I've told anybody.
You sat here in that meeting Tuesday and let people make comments about grant funding and everything else. And then you went after the finance director before it was done. How would she know in July when we started the budget process in August? She didn't get the budgets till then. Did you come to her when you passed your budget in your committee and say, hey, we got a problem here?
Our budget didn't have a problem.
Or what do you want?
On the zoning committee.
You're not in Health and Human Services anymore?
No.
Okay, then my apologies. I thought that was yours.
So we should probably figure this out unless there's more discussion.
The board already voted the money back into the fund, so I guess this is what the public wants, but I think there's an area of public out there that eventually when they find out what happened here and we just took more money out of the general fund, that eventually it's not gonna be real happy. But if this is what the board voted, I guess,
So what was,
let's reinstate the positions.
what were the fund balances in the finance, in the county's budget 2 years ago?
No, I can't, I wanna say around 13 to 14.
Was the total fund balances, maybe not all reflected in the general fund, but total fund balances, do you think they were higher 2 years ago, lower 2 years ago, or about the same 2 years ago?
Well, with the hospital thing and that there was some money in that rent that got moved over, if I'm not mistaken, from the hospital rent, so I'm not sure. But there was some other money that came in here that was sitting in separate funds.
Yeah.
Plus the county made, if I'm not mistaken, around 400 or a little over 400,000, I think, this past year, maybe 500.
I think the budget problems that we're talking about didn't start in June or July. I think they started a couple of years ago.
Could very well
They
be.
may have started when we were spending down our fund balances.
We've been taking some money
And
out
we
of there
spent
for a
them
few
down.
years.
And yet, we were told without any uncertainty that we had a surplus. raises, we were told that we had a surplus.
Yep, one
And
point
that was
three.
and that was just a few months before we were told we had a huge deficit.
But some of that went to highway, some of that went to raises. I think about 700 went to highway of that 1.3. And about 160 went out in raises on 6 months. And I reminded everybody when we discussed that, I don't know what committee it was, I don't remember, it was here or finance, but I voted against it at first, the raises. Finally I gave in, I'll admit, the last time I'm like, okay, everybody wanted to get a raise, I voted for it.
Right?
But I knew that 160 was gonna turn into 320 this year, cause that was only based on 6 months.
And my understanding of what we were told, and if I'm wrong, we can look it up, but I believe we were told that the surplus would cover the raises for the 6 months from July to December of 2024, and it would cover the impact of those raises for 2025.
That I don't remember. You could be right, that I don't remember.
So, in regards to the reinstatement, I think that's a really slippery slope, but if the full committee wants to do that, we need to have some recommendation to the board, because we only put enough money in for 6 months.
No,
It's a full year.
Oh,
It's
it's
a
a full
full
year.
year, yeah, I looked it up, cause that failed.
There was a motion that failed.
And that
There was
failed.
an amendment.
Yeah,
Alright,
I did look.
thank you.
And
There has to, but I'm gonna, the point remains that nobody at the full board said anything other than, including the people who've been on there for a very long time, we need to figure something out, right? We gotta go figure something out. Something should have been figured out. There should have been a plan B years ago. I mean, when Jamie was talking to us about, how we can increase the money coming, the inflow of money, anyway, so we've gotta figure out how to get more money, Well, we could have a bake sale, I guess, every month, but that usually isn't gonna make $1.3 million. If I recall right, we've only raised the levy the last 13 years by 11%. So that's about 0.8% a year. That doesn't even come close to the COLA. So going home and having a beer and thinking about it isn't gonna fix it. And I don't know how, absent that, we'll be here next year, and I really don't wanna be here next year. Not here, you guys are, girls are all great, but not in this position, I don't wanna be. But I'm not hearing anything. I mean, everybody that chastises us for doing this, everybody that works for us is great. But, we don't have the money, and we got no way to raise the money. And saying you shouldn't do it by a reduction in force is, I don't know, my background is different, but saying that is just not dealing with reality, and we should start dealing with reality.
I think Mr. Myers mentioned earlier about attrition, not filling every position and filling them only those that are essential. That may have been something we should have started earlier in this year.
But probably something should have started 3 years ago.
Because we've had a lot of turnover, and I don't know, I have no idea how many of those positions would be considered essential. I know, we're stuck in the sheriff's department. If you've got a vacancy, you're just paying through the nose on overtime you can. That doesn't solve any problems. I understand.
We're gonna be damned if we do and damned if we don't either way. We're damned if we don't do anything.
But I thought my understanding what the board was telling us on Tuesday morning was that, yes, they wanna give us this cushion to move into 2025 first quarter or 6 months of 2025 to come up with a plan that gets us where we wanna go. And I think one of the pieces of that plan would be not a full hiring freeze, but a case by case, consideration of filling each position. There are other efficiencies that we might be able to.
That's what.
And I've heard a lot of people say that we need to look at increasing our revenues. Our, information department provided, did you get the letter from Nick last month? Had a suggestion about raising one of our fees, or instituting a fee that we're not currently charging. That would have generated about $68,000. That almost would cover the position in his department that was being eliminated.
Well,
But there, maybe there are other departments that could increase revenue.
well, and that'd be great. I think that's gonna be difficult, but it'd be great if they could come up with something that's gonna make an impact. But another thing, and I don't remember when this was discussed, if you were on here then yet or not, Dave. But there were some positions that we discussed during the summer, I think it was, about combining or trying to do something with here and there that were questioned. And this is where it gets frustrating for me. And there were some ideas brought up that were sent back to their committees or the individuals. Oh no, we can't do that. Oh no, we can't do this. No, we can't do that. Then all of a sudden, when they realized that everybody's backs were against the wall, then I heard some ideas come out that, well, we could take on this, and we could take on that. Before that, there was one department that was talking about adding another person in order to take it on. That's where it gets frustrating for me. Now all of a sudden, now all of a sudden you're looking at maybe somebody in your department getting cut, and now you can work with us? I mean, there was talk, and it was sent to those individuals in those committees to politely say, hey, can you do this? Can you look at this? And it came back.
Was that land information?
That was one.
Because the zoning committee, we were not,
No,
nothing was.
I don't think nothing came.
And that was the department head's assessment of that. We were never asked to weigh in on it.
Right. No,
So I would be inclined to think that had we been asked, I probably would have questioned why we couldn't do that.
So what persons, or committee, when we go back and ask people, because you asked them for 15%, but everybody threw up all over their shoes. Until we got to the point we are now, so they couldn't find it then, I think is your frustration, and now they have to. So we asked them, and we work next year to do this. Who holds people accountable for reaching that benchmark?
I don't feel like finance has much authority anymore, because we've had issues with different things that I'm not gonna get into, that it's like, okay, we can sit there at the committee meeting and grumble about it, and bitch about it.
That's my point.
And nothing happens sometimes.
No one person or committee, even finance.
We've even sent different things back to committees, different things, and some things get resolved, we get an answer back, some we just get kinda like, it feels like almost a pinky finger.
So we get to the end of the year. Nobody comes through with anything substantial. What was $1.3 million we're short this year? Something like that? We end up $2 million short next year.
But it's gonna fall back on this committee again.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna come back on finance, it's gonna come back, because nobody, okay, let's just be honest. Department heads protect their department, they want it to run with all the services they can provide to the public. They don't mean bad, and I don't mean that, what I say here is that they're trying to do ill will to the county. But something's gotta give somewhere. And I think it's gonna be left up to us again next year or mid-year, whenever we wanna decide this, to figure this out. And people are gonna have to live with it, because, maybe we'll get lucky and something will change here going into next year, but I don't see it. Is it gonna be Is it gonna be, we're gonna need to cut 12 people? Nah, that might be a little strong. I don't wanna cut anybody, but we were out of ideas. And it was like we weren't receiving a lot of help when we asked for the help.
Well, that's my point, and it's Tom's point, you know,
I make a joke
This is
once in a
this is
while at the end of the year,
business.
when I'm in finance, I'm like, who bought new office chairs? That means they have money left in their budget.
Yeah.
That's one thing I look for. Who got new office chairs this year? There's money left. Who loaded up on pens, pencils, sticky notes? It's there. Could anybody leave that sit there on the table?
You could buy new chairs here.
I don't know which is better, the old ones or the new ones we got that are kinda going. But, I mean, yeah, they've got money in their budget, but
So-
anyhow, that's enough, we're
I'm
getting
gonna,
way off track.
this is a very sincere question, because I haven't heard anything recently about what's going on. But we've been working on carbon credits for quite a while.
You
What
gotta
happened to
bring that
that?
up.
Huh?
That's my finance joke, when I'm looking for it all the time in the budget,
Yeah.
and it's not there.
I mean,
Of course,
I, you know,
departments are looking for it.
I can honestly say, I think as a board, we probably were banking that money, thinking we were gonna get it.
Yeah.
And nothing's happened, and that,
I don't know. if
and
we
that
ever will.
I mean, maybe that could have encouraged us to not be as careful with our fund balances over the last couple of years as we maybe should have been.
That's
And I
been
know that
coming
we-
for what, 3 years now?
Yeah, and I know we took a bath on stumpage recently, so I know that was an unforeseen.
Which my gut feeling, going on the record, I think that's gonna get worse before it gets better.
I think you might be right.
From what I'm hearing of the lumber market and the pulp market, and people not bidding on projects, so, anyhow.
Big finish this.
Okay.
So you have a motion.
They have a motion and a second on the floor.
I would like to actually make an amendment to the motion. So, given the information that we received today about vacant positions, et cetera, that pretty sure probably the majority of the board is not even aware of, I think this should go back to the board.
Yeah, I'm not a Robert's Rules guy, you are.
Well, the motion was to do it, not to make a recommendation to the board. And we could certainly ask the question why the original decision wasn't sent to the board, and now all of a sudden we're anxious to send something back to the board. I have held my position all along that three people shouldn't bear the responsibility or the grief of having made a decision that I believe should have been sent to the board. I understand that we didn't have to, but I think we should have, because I think everybody, our constituents, our employees needed to know where every board member stood on those issues. But I don't know that,
We need a second to
So you wanna amend this to send the
We did
rules
say-
this roll back
Oh, no.
to the board?
amend,
your amendment.
yeah, his amendment has to have a second to discuss, right?
So, the question then becomes, our next board meeting is December the 17th.
No, there's a board meeting on the third. There's a board meeting on the third.
Is that just training
That's a
only
training.
though? Or is there gonna be agenda
That's at
items?
the discretion of the chair if he wants to put an actionable item on.
So you can't.
I guess my concern is that here we are in the middle of November, and you're talking about people losing their job on December the 31st. I think delaying board action is not the best thing that we can do.
the amendment again?
Amend the motion, that the reinstatement, the position eliminated the back of the county board. The one was to reinstate.
Now it's open for discussion, I guess.
Now it's open for discussion. Now it is. The amendment is open for discussion.
Well, Mr. Willingham stated that he felt, that the decision previously made to eliminate 6 positions should have been to the board to begin with, and not have been made by a committee. I think
Nobody
that,
agreed with me.
well, I'm just saying that you said that. So, from my viewpoint, I represent District Number 8. And just so everybody understands, a person on the board here, because there seems to be a misunderstanding about that too. We are not hired, and nor are we appointed. We are elected to sit in these seats. We are elected by a group of our peers. Because I saw a lot of information in letters that said, well, you're hired to do this. We're not hired.
Nobody would take this job.
We are elected. So,
Yeah.
from my standpoint, I'm elected by my district to represent the people in my district in the best manner that I possibly can, and what they would expect me to do, and what they would expect the best outcome for them. And in this case, there is a big fiscal responsibility involved here. And if we're going to decide to reinstate this, I think it should go back to the board.
So you're saying you wanna send this back to the board in the form of a resolution for the board to vote on? Or what exactly are you saying?
That's what I would like, yeah, I would like it to go back to the board, and the board will make the final decision.
Can we do that? I mean, it's going back to the board anyhow, which if we pass it, okay, if it fails here, it doesn't go to the board. Somebody's gonna have to bring up a resolution, bring it to the board. But if we
Either
do
way.
it this way, it just goes to the board and the board makes the
We're
decision.
still signing the resolution.
I mean, either way, or
Still
we can
signing
vote
the
on it this way.
Well, I'd like it to go back to, go ahead.
I did talk to legal counsel before this, and it's his opinion that that was the board's intent by putting the funding back in the positions, that we would reinstate the position. So his opinion was, if we pass it here, then it would just die here, it would not go back to the board. But you're right, if you failed it here, then it would go back to the board. Somebody would have to bring it forward by a resolution. But otherwise, the decision would be final after today, and that was his intent, or what he had talked to me about, is that it was the intent of the full board to reinstate the people into the positions because they put the funding in.
So, bottom line, if we have to fail it here in order to go back to the board.
You can pass your amendment still, and then it would go to the board that way.
It doesn't
Bring to
matter
the
if
board.
it passes or fails here, it's still going to the board.
No, if it passes here, it's done.
It doesn't go to the.
It's
It's
done.
done.
I thought Rich said it still had to come back in the form of a resolution to the full
No,
board.
no, not if you guys pass it here, it's done. You can tell the people they're good to go, you can continue open enrollment.
Good intersection.
Well, I'm with Tom, just for the sole reason of, how are we gonna figure it out? Nobody has a solution. Nobody's got any concrete plans. We don't have any,
So would you?
formal process to even get at the money. Can't, I mean, we're limited in, levy limit by the state.
Are we at the levy limit?
concerns me is the county's the second largest, when I saw that sheet, the second largest employer in the county. And I wonder what the rating is on the wall for the future.
Shrinkage.
So would you be willing to send it back to the board with the unanimous recommendation from this committee that the board adopt the resolution? Or are we kind of?
No, not that they adopt it, that they consider to adopt it, it would have to be voted on.
Well, a lot of resolutions go to the board with a recommendation from the committee to pass it. Right? If you look at the whereas.
I'm not recommending anything gets passed, I'm recommending that it simply goes back to the board and the board can decide.
If we wanna take a stand, one way or the other, and ask the board to agree with us, then I think.
Well, personally, I can't take that stand.
Plus, we already did take a stand.
And to Mike's point, the committee was forced to take a stand once, and it went to the board.
And you could have referred it to the board.
Well, maybe we should, but we didn't. So, because we thought time could, at least my thought, I don't wanna speak for anybody else on the committee. We thought it had to be done, so the budget could be finished up that day, so that things could get paid. That's the way it was explained. Whether that was right or not. We were down to the last few days to get the budget material. Or so that Jamie can get it finished up and get it paid, let me rephrase that.
Board meeting wasn't that far off.
No, it wasn't. You can pick on me now. I'm good with it. I got broad shoulders.
So the amendment is to send this back.
I'll get it sent back to the board.
But no recommendation.
With no recommendation.
As a resolution or non-resolution?
I think we've heard that.
Huh? Yeah, it hasn't.
I frankly think the board already told us what they wanted.
Again, the board didn't have the entire picture,
Somebody responsible to have provided that information? I don't know. Lengthy discussion.
The fact still remains that.
Right, we didn't have all the information.
We did not have all the information. You wanna start pointing fingers, go ahead, but I'm not going to, but I think the board deserves to get all the information.
Why is an opposing view considered pointing fingers? What's the matter? Can we?
Well, call a spade, Mr. Williams. You said it.
I said,
It came out of your mouth.
I said.
Unless somebody else has been told.
I said
this.
that-
I don't know.
Are you suggesting I'm a dummy now?
Absolutely not.
Well, then,
Guys,
stop the ventriloquist.
let's
My
vote on
point
it.
is that those questions could have been asked at the board meeting, that information could have been provided to us at the board meeting, it wasn't. The fact that now, all of a sudden, we have that information.
So the board did not get a complete picture. And I think, in all, that we need the board needs to understand everything about this, and they didn't have all the information.
And they probably won't have all the information the next time.
Well, I don't know what else there possibly could be.
So here's my question on this, since this is the personnel committee and that was the budget, was it not offered to the full board because it was a personnel issue?
I mean, when
He's talking about the process.
I can answer that if you want me to.
So we discussed the budget, right? None of this was brought up in there, but that money was already in there. That the positions were vacant.
Okay,
Correct.
yep.
So, were we just supposed to understand that the money was there without an explanation of the positions not being filled? You know,
You mean
could we
Tuesday?
talk about that on Tuesday? Yeah, so we
We
were,
could have, if somebody would have
Oh,
asked,
now I got you, sorry.
if somebody would have asked, are there vacant positions that we could?
And the chair probably would
That
have
was the
let us
question
get
that
away
was
with
asked
it,
today.
yes.
So there's an amendment and a second on the floor. Send it back to the board.
In the form of a resolution.
No.
No, just a recommendation. I
We're just
thought it
gonna
was
say,
no recommendation.
we're just gonna say we didn't do anything.
We could not come to a consensus and we want the board to consider the information that they did not have the first time.
Mr. Meyer, I don't think we can do a resolution because there's no recommendation. So what would we write in the resolution for the board if there's not a recommendation from this committee?
Just bump it back to them, right?
I get where both sides are coming here. I really do. I get where Dave's coming from, and I get where Tom's coming from. Then I guess if this committee made a recommendation way back when we thought it was what needed to be done at the time, to get to where finance wanted it to be, and the board chose to overturn that in a sense during the budget process, then maybe the board should be the one that makes the full vote. And reinstates the positions.
So is that a yes?
I think the board did, well, let's actually vote on it. I think the board actually realized that because of the agenda, they couldn't make that decision by Tuesday. Because reinstatement was not on the agenda. The budget was on the agenda, we can make the adjustments to the budget that would provide the funds to do reinstatement, but that was Rich's ruling that we couldn't have voted to reinstate
Right.
positions as a board.
But,
That's why
and I mean no offense by this, but you made a very clear point Tuesday that you felt that decision should have come from personnel to the board. So if we're gonna live by that, then I think this should go back to the board to go along with the vote that they did with the budget. See where I'm going here?
yes.
I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm not saying you're right, but I'm going with your argument.
What you're saying is you're following my advice when
Well-
my advice is in your favor, but you didn't follow it when it wasn't.
Okay, true, sometimes I do that, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, but I mean it when I say it, if we're gonna say that personnel shouldn't have made this, and I'm not saying you're right or wrong, maybe personnel should have made it and sent it on to the board, but then if that's the case, then we might as well do the same thing this time, and let the board make the decision. Because,
But the difference is that if you would have sent it to the board the first time, I think you would have been sending it with a recommendation to do it,
our understanding was it didn't need to go to the board.
but you wouldn't have.
So, you can argue if we did it wrong or not, but our understanding was the personnel committee did not need to
But you
send
know,
it to the board.
at the very meeting, the last meeting, or not Tuesday, the previous, I believe there were 17 resolutions on the agenda. Some of them were, the October one,
Yeah.
there were 17 resolutions, that's the process that we usually follow. Most of those resolutions came from a committee, and there was a recommendation by that committee to approve it. And this was the one item that didn't come with, so when I said it should have went to the board, I believe it should have went to the board with a recommendation from the committee.
Okay.
Now we wanna send it to the board without a recommendation.
Right now, so my vote is yes, that we do send it to the board with the
Let's do a
recommendation.
roll call.
And my vote is no.
My vote is yes. You vote.
Yes.
Mr. Caruso,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes.
Mr. Ronkamp.
No.
And Mr. Russell.
Yes.
So
need to pass the motion
Motion
as
as amended.
amended.
So you go back to the original motion to,
Oh, okay, I got what you're saying. I told you I wasn't gonna.
Actually, a parliamentarian would have probably recommended that you not allow a motion to be amended that resulted in the opposite of the motion. So the motion was to reinstate the employees, the amendment was to not reinstate the employees by virtue of not doing it. So actually, we shouldn't have allowed the amendment because it negated.
Yeah, Rich is our parliamentarian, would you like me to call him?
Huh?
I requested he be here.
No, I think we should just quit talking about it. I think we've let everybody know that we don't wanna do this and that we are ignoring what the board clearly wanted us to do. And so we'll let the board
Mr. Chair,
tell us
would
again
you call
what they
Rich?
want us to do.
So a motion, what am I doing?
Pass the motion as amended.
Yeah, how do you do this, yeah?
What you said was that we were, I'll make this clear. You said that we were denying reinstating by making this amendment.
You were denying the purpose of the motion. The motion was to reinstate the people. And by an amendment to say we're not gonna reinstate the people, we're gonna send it to the board, is negated the purpose of the motion.
So we should have added
Generally, it's
on.
not allowed.
It should
We're
have added
not
on to your
actually saying
motion.
that we're going to deny it, but we don't wanna make that decision.
That's not, that's not how it works, as far as parliamentary procedures is concerned. I mean, it would be like if somebody made a motion to buy a tractor, and then he would say, well, I amended to not buy a tractor. That's trying to amend the motion with the opposite intent. Intent was to do it, not to send it back to the board, so by the motion, the amendment negated the purpose of the motion. Generally not accepted. When it's done, I'm tired, exhausted from arguing, and frustrated, don't need any more stress.
So so we need a motion to pass the.
Well, we need to take a vote on the main motion, which will be the opposite of the vote on the amendment, so you wanna call the roll?
So we need to make a motion then.
I'm not sure.
This is already on the
I
floor.
already made a motion.
It's already on the floor.
Was there a second?
I made a motion and you seconded it and you amended it.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
But an amendment typically is to add something to it, correct? Correct?
Well, amendment usually is, the motion was to spend $100 and the amendment was
To add to $200.
$200, or
Yes.
maybe make it 90, but not to make it zero.
Right. This is, I don't know what.
I took it as our amendment, well, maybe I took it as our amendment was to not fail it, but move it on to the board for the full board to vote on. That's the way I took
But
it.
the original was to reinstate the positions eliminated. And so the amendment was to recommend the reinstatement of the position, or eliminate, go back to the county board with no recommendation.
So,
Yes.
if I'm understanding this correctly, then what should have happened then was that we should have voted no on the original motion. And then made another motion to move it on to the county board. So here we are, we have this little.
But that wasn't worded here, so either way, you gotta make an amendment. Right, Dave, I mean, you can't.
You
I thought that even if we passed the resolution, it's still before. Before it was open.
Okay, Mr. Summerfield, this is Connie. So the motion was made by Willingham, seconded by Jacobson to reinstate the position eliminated. And then Mr. Kudo made a motion and Mr. Russell second to amend the motion to recommend that the reinstatement of the position eliminated go back to the county board with no recommendation. So is that a true amendment?
So, the proper motion. The purpose of that would be to postpone it. Or to not make a decision then, and to refer it to the committee, or to the county board.
Tell him you already voted on the amendment.
They already voted on the amendment.
Well, what was the amendment?
To amend the motion to recommend that the reinstatement of the position eliminated go back to the county board with no recommendation.
So then, that really doesn't make any sense. So it really should be a motion to postpone to the county board, is what it should be.
Can't amend,
The
can't
amendment,
amend the motion, or the motion by reversing it, or
Right, I mean, again, if that's the case, it should be motion to postpone.
And move the county board.
Right, postpone until county board weighs in on it, I mean, that's what it is, it's a non-decision, so I don't think the amendment is appropriate.
Okay, so what do I do with it?
Well, who's the chair?
Mr. Russell?
Then I would have the chair rule that it's out of order.
can't be out of order after it's passed.
Yeah, it can't be out of
Oh,
order.
it already happened?
Yeah,
Are you guys still in session?
yeah.
Who voted on that?
Did a roll call.
And they voted to not have to take effect until after the county board?
They recommended that it goes back to county board, but first
And that won 3-2,
1, 4 to 1,
to have the county board act on it.
yes.
So, and that was done as an amendment?
Yes, it should have been.
No.
So what do you want me to do? What do you want Mr. Russell to do? Hunt? I don't know what to do here.
I hate to give you pointers, but you could, because it won't work my way, but you could move to reconsider amendment.
They could move to reconsider the amendment and fail that, and then go back to the original motion and vote on that, and then make another motion if they choose to.
Correct, I mean, I think that, I mean, what it is, it should have been a motion to postpone. Or refer it back to the county board. Which isn't debatable, and then, but you already, I mean, the minutes are the minutes, so,
You want a motion to reconsider?
or either that, or just a motion to refer these decisions, or this decision to the full county board.
What do I do with the very first motion to
You
reinstate?
already have it there, did they already act on that?
He did not.
What was the original motion?
To reinstate the positions eliminated,
Okay, that wasn't acted on.
was not.
Oh, so then that's fine, the fact that it was stated as an amendment, it's more or less a motion to refer to the county board.
Yes.
a motion with the intention of creating the opposite effect of the motion.
Yeah, but they didn't act on it, it's to refer to the county board is what the purpose of it was, right?
But that was still the amendment.
There was a
So they
motion
were amending the motion by
to recommend that they
by
reinstate.
doing the opposite of what the motion was intended to accomplish. And that's not a proper amendment.
I definitely agree it wasn't a proper amendment.
The procedural way to get out of this, even though I disagree with the whole mess, is to reconsider the motion to amend, or the amendment, dispose of it, then vote the original motion down, which I'm sure they're more than happy to do, and then start out with another motion.
To refer it to the county board.
Yes.
I mean, I'm okay with that approach.
Is the approach is the train we're on now, okay?
No, I mean, you guys need to do something, because it shouldn't have been an amendment.
Well, I just thought I heard you say that we were okay.
Yeah, but we didn't, you didn't vote on the very first one, you should have voted on it.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get, if you guys just make a motion to refer this to the county board,
How about reconsider,
and that's fine, vacate that one, and then make a motion to refer to this decision to the county board.
vacate the second one? What do you do with the first one?
Well, there was no vote on the first one.
If you eliminate the amendment, then you can have a motion to postpone or refer
Okay.
Correct,
the motion to the board.
because there was no decision on the first one.
Okay.
So then, I can make a motion to vacate my previous amendment to the motion.
To reconsider.
Consider.
To reconsider.
And, you know, I mean, you guys can choose to do that, but the writing is on the wall, that we're gonna have either a potential special meeting, and for this purpose, that everybody who voted for the reinstatement of those funds, they're going to vote to do this. I know you guys, 3 or 4 of you voted no to do that, but all we're doing is spending money on the taxpayers to have another meeting, to have the county board vote.
Well, it can be done at the next meeting, which I believe was mentioned was the third. It's a regular
And that
schedule.
may be, if the chair will do that, unless he wants to get it done and he calls a special meeting.
So we leave the employees hanging for another couple weeks, just because we don't wanna do what the board
Directed you to do. Man up.
Who seconded to reconsider this? Did you second it?
I'll say.
Okay. To reconsider can I just put to reconsider the amendment?
Correct.
So you have a motion on the floor,
Reconsider. All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed?
No.
What were you on?
I'm not sure what I need.
So
Yeah,
the
well, I'm
gonna say
the
yes.
reconsider's on the amendment though. Reconsider is on the amendment. Okay,
Okay, so that.
Yes.
I'm telling you how to do it, I'm just not doing it.
okay. I'm just making things very clear so that we don't. Okay. Now, don't go back to the first motion, or you want me to go back to the
Well,
first?
now you have that, it's reconsidering it, so it's back to the amendment.
So we can go back to the original or to amend to,
Just a
You
minute.
just do a motion to postpone, or to refer it back to the board.
But we haven't had a motion on the floor yet.
Yeah,
yeah.
still have my motion on the floor, you just eliminated the amendment, not the motion.
Right. So we have to still have to deal with the original motion.
Right, but if somebody makes a motion to refer it to the, county board, that's gonna take priority, so then you can vote on that
board can make a motion to refer it back to committee, and we can do this until January, and then.
We have a motion. No, not on that,
The main motion is to reinstate the positions. Now you could make a motion to refer it to the board, which would take precedence over the motion to reinstate the positions. And therefore, if there's a positive vote, it would go back to the board, which is not what the board wanted us to do, but that's what we're gonna do.
Alright, so I make a motion then to send it back to the board.
refer back to the.
Refer it back to the board.
Second. All in favor?
I think we need a roll call, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Willingham?
No.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Kudo?
Yes.
4-1. Okay, Rich, we got her. We're gonna refer it back to the
Excuse me.
board.
Mr. Corporation Counsel,
Yes, sir.
now that we have made that referral, would a motion be in order, which will probably not get a second, but a motion to make a positive recommendation to the board that the board reinstate the position?
I mean, yeah, it's germane to the issue.
I just think we need to be on record as where we stand, not shrug our shoulders and send it back to the board. So I'm gonna make a motion that the committee make a recommendation to the board that it reinstate the position.
I thought that we decided that it was going to be sent back to the board without a recommendation.
Let's make a motion.
No, you referred it back to the board, you didn't make a recommendation. My motion's in order, it won't get seconded, so it won't happen. I just want everybody to know what we're doing, and what we're not doing.
So then, yeah, the chair of the committee should not proceed on that because it's not your power.
We have a second. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Want to do a roll call?
Yes.
Mr. Minor?
No.
Mr. Willingham?
Yes.
Mr. Russell?
No.
Mr. Kudo?
No.
And Mr. James?
Yes.
3-2.
Motion carries. Have that?
Yeah.
And, are we at
Thank you, Rich.
amendment number 2, agenda number 2?
That's not good.
Uh,
That's not
They-
good.
what they
We don't
call-
need it?
What they call root.
It's a vote to, vote it in.
Yep. Set the agenda.
We need a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.